It's episode 10 of the Toadstool Boardroom. I'm Logan Plant, joined today by Chris Shriver.
Hello.
And Odell Harmon Jr.
Hey, everybody.
The Toadstool Boardroom is a weekly Nintendo podcast. We upload Thursdays at noon Pacific Time, 3 Eastern on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen to your podcast. So please head on over to those platforms, like, subscribe, all those good things. You can also follow us on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. And if you're interested in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I still encourage you to go check out our review discussion episode. That's episode 8, where Travis Northrop from IGN came on to talk with us about the game. But we're not talking about Xenoblade 3 today. We're talking about Splatoon 3, because the big Splatoon 3 Direct watch, which we put into action last week, is over. It only took a week. Our timing was impeccable. We got a Splatoon 3 Direct at 6 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday morning, and there is a lot to dive into. This was a 30-minute presentation, and there was even more posted on the official Splatoon website after this presentation was over. So let's just get into the big things I want to talk about right now, the things that matter to me the most, and I think to this panel the most from what we've talked about, and that is multiplayer appears to actually be fixed. We're talking about matchmaking. Chris is clapping his hands. In the new lobby system, you actually get to walk around this lobby and you'll see ghosts of your friends who are playing in matches. And basically, you can get 4 friends together, group up before a match, dive into a turf war, and play on the same team. So everything we could have dreamed of is here. Very excited about that. And the other thing I think people are going to be excited about is that you can skip these stage reveals at the start of the game. Every time you boot up the game, you don't have to sit through that 2-minute presentation anymore from the idols, which we also got a new trio of idols who will be presenting at this time. But you can skip through that. So right off the bat, some great quality of life changes that, Chris, I know we were all very much looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the... It's so weird. Like, there are so many minor quality of life changes that I think they are finally starting to implement with this game. Things that we wanted within Splatoon 2 and never really got and always complained about and have been complaining about for the last 5 years. But hey, it's fixed, and that's all. I'm very grateful. I could say that. Yeah, I mean, as far as like being able to actually party up with friends, it looks like that is going to work. We are not going to have to juggle around and say, "Hey, let's play together," and then you end up on the opposite team. That was always a pain point for sure. And private matches are included in this version as well. I actually don't recall if they were in Splatoon 2.
They are in 2.
They are in 2? Okay. Well, I just don't have 8 friends, so I never had the need to use that. Now, but I'm excited that all of that has returned. At least the private match aspect. Yeah.
So before we get into the nitty gritty, I kind of want to just do a general overview and get your guys' thoughts on Splatoon 3 and this Direct as a whole. I guess for me, it seems like this is the most content-rich Splatoon at launch that we've seen yet out of the 3. 12 stages at launch, that's the most we've seen at launch. Splatoon 1 had 5, if you remember, on Wii U. Splatoon 2 had 8, so we're getting 12 at launch, including 5 new stages. Salmon Run is back. It's going to be available 24/7, not just in specific windows, which is great. And there's a new special Salmon Run mode that's going to come in every couple months. There's a new tabletop card game. Like, you collect 150 cards and play this like top-down puzzle game, 1v1 spin-off of Turf War called Table Turf Battle, which is interesting. Splatfests are back. It's now 3 teams instead of 2. There's a meaty single-player campaign, more customization than ever. To me, this seems like the most content-rich Splatoon. So as a Splatoon super fan, I'm very much looking forward to this title. But Odell, let's start with you. How are you feeling about Splatoon 3 as someone who's not as big into the series? What do you think?
I'm lukewarm, as in I am definitely a lot more positive than I've been these past couple of months. That's for sure. Because one of the biggest areas for me about Splatoon, other than, the actual core gameplay, Splatopolis, or where are we now? We're not in Splatopolis.
We're in the Splatlands.
Yeah, we're in the Splatlands. I hated that the hub world was always devoid of life. And what I mean is, it looked really big, but in reality, it was just a really tiny hub world of just walking from the beginning to where you can play the game. But now I'm like, you got the lockers, you got different areas. The world seems alive. It's changed dramatic. And that's why I always wanted, I wanted a hub world that felt worthy of being a hub world. And this looks like it's going to give it to us. Maybe not exactly as grand as I wanted, but definitely some meat on the bones now. And one of my favorite additions is like the customization of like your layouts. It's like, okay, thank you. I hate playing the game. It's like, cool, more outfits, cool. I don't want to play the game for 20 more hours just so I can have the same layout on these clothes. And then it was cumbersome. That's just the best way. The layout and clothing system was cumbersome. And now it appears to be fixed, or at the very least, a lot less cumbersome. So that was my favorite thing about this. Because what's the point of having cool gear if you can never utilize it in a match because it came out way too late?
Yeah, there's way more you can do with your gear. So in the past, you had the one primary skill and then the 3 secondary skills. And you could use your gear parts or your seashells to re-roll those bottom 3 skills. But now you can use the parts to change out the main skill too. So if you have a shirt that you like, you can grind enough to customize that shirt to play exactly how you want, which I think is really neat, that you can really make because style is so important in Splatoon. I think it's really important to a lot of the player base. So to have this thing where you can make your outfit what you want with the skills you want. You've got these lockers that you can customize. You've got the name tag you can customize now with the icon and the background and the title. And you've also got the like post-match gesture, like there's a dab.
The celebration.
Dabbing.
Yes.
Yeah, the celebration that you can change too. So just way more on the customization front in this one. Taking a lot from like other live service games, it seems like
yeah,
Fortnite.
That was my biggest takeaway of it. Was it seems like a lot of the things that they've introduced in terms of customization and the way that you can kind of parse out these skills. It reminds me, the type of excitement that I have for it is very similar to the excitement that I had when they rolled this out in Destiny 2.
Okay.
They yeah, just the fact that like you would, at least in that game, you would always have moments where they would give you a piece of equipment or a piece of gear, and unless you were playing to that particular trait, like you never really used it, or it would look really cool, and then if it didn't apply to how you played the game, you were kind of stuck. Splatoon seemed like it was kind of in a similar situation, which with a game that has such a heavy emphasis on the fashion. I mean, Christ, we have a Twitter account that's been showing clothes for the last brands that don't exist in real life for the last 3 months. Like, I better be able to customize this however I want to. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's almost an overwhelming amount of content is what it seems like it could become. Where, like, I think if you're somebody who, not to go too off the rails, but I think if you're somebody who is like, this is your main game that you play or your main multiplayer game that you play, like, you are set for the next 2 years. They said that they were adding content to this title. But as someone who may be a bit more of a casual player, maybe you play on the weekends with friends or something like that, there's always going to be something for you to chase, and that's very exciting. But you are definitely going to notice, at least in the hub worlds and in the games, the people that play a lot and the people that don't. Because I have a feeling the people that don't are going to look very basic in terms of just their fashion and the gear and skills that they have equipped.
The locker has one sticker, maybe a photo.
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of player won't care, right? Like,
they shouldn't.
The stuff is there for people who play hundreds of hours, but Chris, you're going to pick it up at launch, play the campaign, play 30 hours of multiplayer and call it a day. That stuff doesn't matter for you. But I guess I think it's cool that they're calling them catalogs, and they're adding a new catalog every 3 months for 2 years. And that's going to be the locker stickers, the fashion, these different customization options are going to roll out 4 times a year. And along with that, there's going to be new weapons added in those times. There's going to be new maps added as well. I look at something like this and I'm like, man, how does Nintendo get it so right with Splatoon? And then you look at like Mario Strikers Battle League or Nintendo Switch Sports, and you're like, they just can't figure it out. But Splatoon has so much content that's worth coming back for. And this Direct eased my concerns that Splatoon 3 would be any different. I think that its rollout looks great. I love how much content we're starting with. So I'm excited about all that stuff.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is that even though I'm not over the moon just yet, it feels worthy of being called a sequel. And that was probably going to be, my biggest personal concern. I was like, okay, I can say this game has enough, right out the gate. If this was all we had for the next year, the first year of Splatoon, it would still be enough to be called a sequel. So I'm like, it's all trending in the right direction. Now, if the netcode works and the matches are fine, then we're solid.
And I have not seen this run on a Switch yet, but to me, this looks like a big visual improvement over Splatoon 2. Chris, you disagree?
Okay.
The tale is old as time on the Toadstool boardroom.
Before you say anything, Chris, I just have to say it because Logan rammed Pokemon. He was just giving it to Pokemon. No way I'm letting Splatoon 3 have it. The same thing I said with Xenoblade 3 was you cannot showcase a trailer that has frame rate issues. That is the one place I feel like just cut the clip out. And I'm just like, when you show me a trailer that has frame rate issues, it makes me think, oh man, if you're willing to show this in the trailer, what might I have to deal with in the game?
So on that, I think up close there are visuals that look very good. I think there are like pre-rendered moments that look really, really good. The gentleman that I said I would die for on Twitter, the big Stingray fellow, as part of the trio, I forget his name, like Big Mac or whatever his name is. I don't
Big
remember.
Man, isn't it?
Big Man, yeah, Big Man. Yeah, I'd take a bullet for that dude. There were some moments like with him and the two new other hosts as well, where they're on the float and they're dancing. Like there are reflections coming off of him that I think look great. That being said, and it's the Switch. Like I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I think we're finally at a point where I and the rest of the world have to accept that like any game on Switch from this point forward is going to have anything that's far in the draw distance do that thing where it's just stuttering.
Like in Kirby, where you have these cars in the background going 5 frames a second.
Right. And then you get closer and then it speeds up. Like, I think that's just what they have to do with the hardware that they're given. We heard this past week. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is anymore. Wednesday. This past week that we're not going to see new Switch hardware until April. We're not going to see it before April 2023 is what was said. I don't think it's going to make a difference, quite honestly, even if they do put out new hardware. Like, this is what the Switch is, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's fine. I don't think the game looks bad. I think there are just like pieces in it that would give it more of a flourish are straight up distracting, and I think that's where a lot of my issues with the Switch come from, is that like there were so many moments during this direct where I was looking at the things in the background and not paying attention to what they were actually talking about, because I was just like, God, that looks bad. Like, and
the curse of a PC gamer.
Yeah, I can't get over it.
Of the time, and I don't care.
Yeah, I can't get over it. And this is the same guy that, I've been playing Star Fox 2 on the SNES like at least once a week for the last month. So I don't make any sense, and I know that.
Well, I was more talking about those moments you were talking about, Chris, that visually look better. I'm not talking about performance. I don't want to judge that until we actually.
Yeah, we can't judge that.
But I thought there were some visual moments that did look nice in this presentation that looked like the art style has been tweaked a little bit from the first 2 Splatoon games. Which
those dance moves were fresh.
Visually. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that little music video they had at the end there.
A couple other things I want to talk about. This was not shared in the Direct, I don't believe, but if you have Splatoon 2 save data, you get weapons faster. You get these 3 golden Sheldon tickets that you can exchange for weapons earlier on in the game. So if you have Splatoon experience, you can get through the starter weapons faster and get to the weapons you want. And some of your ranked data, some of your rankings from ranked mode in Splatoon 2 will carry over to the Anarchy Battle, which is the new name for ranked in Splatoon 3. So I thought that was very smart of them, that like if you're a newbie to Splatoon 3 and you hop into Anarchy battles and you're just getting smashed by people who you know are going to be rank A or S, I think it's nice that they're starting by filtering those people out right away. I think that works out for everyone. So I thought that was something really smart that's
great.
I didn't really expect them to do.
Yeah. I don't think we see enough games do that, like especially Nintendo titles. You get really the most of that you get is like, if they anymore, is they put out a demo for something and you get like you get to play the first hour of it or whatever, and you save that save data. No, the fact that they're doing this, in an online service game, it's weird, right? Like Nintendo is getting so much right with this rollout. Yeah, I mean, you said it. You said it earlier. Like, why does Splatoon? Why do they nail it? And then everything else, it's like, well, that's Nintendo. It's weird.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Let's not count our chickens before they hatch. There could still be some glaring issue. Before we shelve this talk, I do want to bring up an interesting fact, because we're talking about, the Switch, and, it's the Switch. We got to accept it. But I feel like there's something that the Switch actually can do and would help this game immensely. Because when I was watching the trailer, I was like, this game could really use some voice acting. And I'm not saying like I'm fine with reading text, but it's just the you know, the vibe of the game, the energy and stuff, the host, and I'm just like, why is this game not voice acted?
It is voice acted. They just don't speak English.
Oh, don't give me why does this game only speak in jips and chirps? Because okay, I remember in the Pokemon Direct, I didn't bring this up. They made it seem like the game's gonna have voice acting, like the president of the school is talking to you. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is just for the Direct. I'm pretty sure no one's gonna talk in Pokemon, even though people should talk.
Sword and Shield has that super high produced opening cutscene where there's voice acting, and then the rest of the game just looks bad.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And so, but I really feel like, okay, even if they're not speaking English, I feel like there's still a high value way to do, like, you know, nonsense language. I don't know. I just feel like it would be really cool if the pop star is saying something and then they actually talked. I mean, granted, I guess the flip side is they could get voice actors and they just don't fit the vibe as well. But I don't know. I really feel like Splatoon 3, we could have voice acting.
It's surprising. It isn't surprising that the announcers are not voice acted at this point. It seems like something that would be like a pretty big, not win, but like it would be a big deal if they were to do that. The only thing with that is like, you know, you have games like I'll bring back Destiny just because it's the one I'm like most familiar with, where like Peter Dinklage in that with Ghost, like they had to drop him because he was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And they're like, all right, well, this is like a live service game. We have to keep creating content for this. Like you have to keep those actors on retainer to keep coming back and record new dialogue for whatever's going on. Because of how much happens in Splatoon, I don't know. Like it could be a lot. At least we got to be grateful that Splatoon is as good as it is from Nintendo.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I guess as a Splatoon fan, I feel like it's like Animal Crossing, where their own language is part of the charm to me of the franchise. I think that if these like teenage Squid Girl idols were voice acted in English,
it might be
kind of grating.
Yeah,
I think it'd be annoying. Like I think that the voices that there are work, that it's just this. Splatoon's freaking weird, right? It's
especially every time,
these
like
garbled noises.
If you boot it up every single time, it's like, "Welcome to Splatfang." You're just like, it's 10 o'clock at night. I worked a long day. I really don't want to listen to this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, how about just sound bites? We just had like iconic words that they did say that you know they could just be, you know, like the stay fresh. Like people.
Well, that's like what they do with Peach and like Mario and all them now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there is no voice acting, but what there is three-way turf wars, which is a brand new thing for Splatoon 3, because there's three idols now. Fry, I don't know if it's Shiver or Shiver, but either way, it's pretty close to Chris's last name.
I think it's Shiver. We're going to call her Shriver. It's fine.
Shriver.
Yeah.
And Big Man. And they make up the Deep Cut Trio, and they each get a team in Splatfest. The first Splatfest is coming on August 27th. That's going to run from 9 a.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Pacific. It's a separate download from Splatoon 3. This is the equivalent of the global test fire event that we saw for Splatoon 1 and 2. So try out the game before launch. Nintendo gets to test out the servers before launch. And it is rock versus paper versus scissors. So 3-team Splatfest, which is now divided into 2 halves. They're totally revamping this. The first half of a Splatfest is a turf war. And then the second half, it takes the leader from the first half and pits them against the 2 trailing teams, where they'll start the leading team, 4 members in the middle of a map, and then have 2 members of each of the other teams start at opposite ends of the map, and then it's a turf war, and the red team will have to try and defend the center from the other 2 teams who are working together against them. So super interesting concept. I'm really curious to see how this actually plays out. But Splatfests are one of the best parts of Splatoon, so I'm very happy they're coming back, and to see them refreshed in this way, I thought was very exciting.
No, I love this. I think it's great to see them play around with asymmetrical multiplayer. I guess this is somewhat like semi-asymmetrical, but yeah, because like as much as I love Turf War, you know, it's been the same mode since the first one. It's nice for them to you know, to see them put a different spin on it. I was surprised, you know, we did kind of expect some type of battle royale type mode, whether it was Salmon Run and I think that might be what that Salmon Run City thing is, whatever that is. That might be like as close as you. Well, no, I guess that wouldn't be a battle royale. That's more just like a 20-man whatever. At least I'm guessing, but
PvE. Right?
Yeah,
PvP,
PvE type mode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, the new turf war won me over. Before that, I was just like, yeah, this is just, the same Splatoon, same old, same old. Yeah, cool. That's what I was like, okay, this is
hits.
something that, this will make me get the game and like come back and like, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 modes that they did add, the other ones that they name them, but they don't go over them in the direct, the multiplayer ones.
Those aren't new. Those are just the returning ranked.
They're returning ones? Okay.
That is Tower Control, Rainmaker, Clam Blitz, and Splat Zones. Those
Clam
are all
Blitz,
the
I don't
same
think I've
4
played.
modes. That was added in Splatoon 2. I think maybe later down the line.
Okay.
So those are all the returning modes. I kind of expected a new ranked mode. Maybe we'll get one as post-launch support because they've done that many times before.
Sure.
But yeah, these are the 4 same returning modes at launch. For me, Rainmaker is the highlight. I adore Rainmaker. It's Capture the Flag, where the flag is a huge gun. It is super cool, super creative. And then the other 3 are kind of fine for me. But I've always been kind of a turf war guy. And then if Rainmaker's on, I'll play Rainmaker. But I don't know. I'm just looking at all this content, and I'm like, you can do Salmon Run at any time. You've got 4 ranked modes at launch. You've got turf wars with the most maps we've seen at launch. You've got a lobby, which you can practice in while you're waiting for a match. Remember in Splatoon 1? You have that little game on the gamepad, the squid jump, where you can just play this stupid arcade game while you wait for a match. In Splatoon 2, you just twiddled the control stick to change the music while you waited for the match to start. Now you can actually play, like you can play around with your weapon in this training zone while you're waiting for the match to start. I think that's a great change. You can save gear loadouts for the first time ever. It was locked behind Amiibo, I think it's Splatoon 2, but now you could just do that. There are more Amiibo coming as well with very lackluster support, might I add. You can take selfies with them and save more gear loadouts to them.
Yeah.
And unlock some exclusive gear.
That was going to be my question, was you can still save gear separately outside of Amiibo?
Yes.
Okay, because
they showed that in the direct like 10 minutes before they showed Amiibo.
Okay.
So it has to be an option for everyone.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's weird.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope that you can save loadouts without them because that's what it made it look like. Maybe I need to go back and take a second look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amiibo support. We talked last week that we didn't know if Splatoon 3 was going to get Amiibo, and we're getting 3 Amiibo. They're not coming at launch, though. They are coming this holiday. It is an Inkling girl, an Octoling boy, and Small Fry, who's the little salmonoid from the single-player campaign. And they are coming in a 3-pack as well in some regions. But they're not coming day and date with Splatoon 3, which I find. I mean,
they're getting dropped at random.
Like Steve and Alex were delayed. Monster Hunter's delayed. We actually have some news on that later, so it makes sense they're not going to make it in time, but it seems like a missed opportunity to me to not have these out today.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering this game was technically delayed. I think it's more surprising than anything else. But, I mean, again, like you said, the Monster Hunter delay, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. And, due to COVID-19, that seems to be the trending theme with most of Nintendo's merchandise at this point, at least as far as Amiibo are concerned.
Last 2 things we should talk about on Splatoon before we move on. Been on it for a while. Lot to digest, though, with Splatoon 3. We've been waiting for a long time. They did show some new gameplay stuff, which we haven't even really talked about. In Turf War, there's a new weapon type they showed called the Splatana. It is a katana. It looks awesome. Looks very good for getting kills. I really liked how that one looked. They showed more of the Stringer, which is the bow and arrow weapon we've seen before. They also showed a handful of new specials. There's like a cooler where you have like 4 power-up, like buff drinks that drop that your team can run by the cooler and each grab one, which is super cool. You can basically ride a shark up to your opponents that will then explode. So there's some pretty cool stuff here. There's a new like 180 jump you can do to like get away from enemy fire quickly, and there's also a way to swim up walls faster. So some minor changes that just make gameplay look like they go faster and even more frantic. I was a fan of all that. And then last thing here, there's going to be a large-scale paid DLC, probably similar to the Octo expansion, in addition to the every 3-month free update. So at some point down the line, I would guess a year in, because Octo came out. So maybe next September or next fall, there will be a large-scale paid expansion for Splatoon 3 that looked like Pearl and Marina in the silhouette, the idols from Splatoon 2,
that
I'm pretty
was
sure.
what I thought, yeah.
And I saw some people upset that Nintendo was announcing this a year in advance. Like, you're nickel and diming us for paid DLC a year early, but
Get out of
I'm
here.
like, there's
But
so
how,
much free
though?
content added to Splatoon. Come on.
Yeah, especially like, and every other Nintendo game does this. Like they've done it with Breath of the Wild. They just did it with Xenogears, and there's like three major pieces of content coming to Xenogears, like or Xenoblade. Yeah. It shows how old I am. Yeah, it shows how old I am.
Oh, but no, I feel like you can't complain about big paid DLC when they go, "Hey, this game's getting free updates for the next 2 years." It's like, well, what is there to complain about? It's like, well, even if I don't get that, I still have 2 years of free guaranteed content.
Also, something that has not yet been mentioned, but is a huge deal, Mr. Plant, is the return of Splatnet in Splatnet 3 via the Nintendo Switch Online app.
Okay, I will say Splatoon by far used that thing the best.
They did.
First time around. So I'm going to reinstall the app when Splatoon 3 comes out.
Wait,
for Splatnet 3.
reinstall?
Yeah, it's been gone for years, man.
Ugh. Pathetic.
It's been gone for years.
What, you mean you wasn't using it to voice chat with friends while you're playing Mario Strikers and all these other online amazing games?
None of my friends wanted to play Strikers with me.
We couldn't, remember?
You could play with one friend.
Yeah, you could play with a friend.
Exactly one friend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and then I guess last thing, also hasn't been mentioned, you can watch up to 50 replays now, which is cool. Like, replay data is a thing, too, and you can post that online. They said that it will be unavailable after certain dates, just like your Smash Bros. Data. You have to, like, export it as a video to save it beforehand, but still, just, like, I feel like they thought of everything this time. Like,
they
I'm
thought
pretty
of,
impressed with this.
Yeah, they thought of everything for the pro crowd. Like, between the replays, being able to save all these loadouts, probably just increasing or improving the netcode in general. Like, there's a lot here for them to build. They what are they? Nintendo Versus is that Twitter account that they have where they like start to build out all their invitationals and things like that. It makes sense. I mean, it's a very watchable game. There's a lot of
it is really Nintendo's esport. Like, I feel like they embrace this more than they do Smash in terms of competitive esports. Like, well, this is it for them.
Smash Brothers also has never had good netcode.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
Very true.
Yeah.
So it's good for the pro crowd. We all agree on that. But the bottom line here, is this enough to justify the casual fan, you guys, picking up Splatoon 3? Odell, let's start with you.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I mean, I was gonna pick. Let me put it like this: I picked up Mario Strikers. At least I know I would enjoy this.
Yeah,
yeah. There was definitely enough new. Like I said, at like the first maybe 10 so minutes of the direct, I wasn't sold because they were basically saying like, if you don't know what Splatoon is, this is what it is. So it was just like, well, it's the third game. I feel like we don't need to be like, this is what a turf war is. This is. So I was like, oh God, this is, I was feeling nervous. But then like, once I got into the try turf war thing, your loadouts, the locker, how you could be creative in the hub world and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely enough to, keep me on board for like, maybe 2-3 months and then never play again. But then they went over, their future plans, all the stuff they're doing. I'm like, okay, maybe this is something I can legit, play consistently for a year. Like, I can hop on and, and then hopefully it seems like a game maybe going forward that with the update and stuff, I can actually realistically keep playing. Because I played Smash pretty much religiously, like even through the Joker reveal.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only thing that actually killed my Smash play was COVID because I was just forced to play online. I couldn't go to like my community meetups or anything. And that, honestly, as awkward as that sound, being locked in killed my Smash ability. It was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Every other
Online
match
Ultimate is not good.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? What'd you think overall?
I mean, I'm very excited for the Splatoon Die Hard for sure. Like, I feel like this is everything they could have wanted and more.
But what about you?
For me, as the old man and the sea, I'm excited, but not like it's the third entry in a series. It's not like it's this brand new thing from Nintendo that we've never seen before. You know what I mean? It's like I know what I'm getting. It'll come down to, do I have people to play it with? Like how many of my friends list are going to like continue to play this, week over week or whatever? Am I going to get the DMs of like, hey, we're on, going to be playing tonight if you want to do anything? I always do the campaigns. Not that they're like amazing, but it's always enough to like get my rhythm back, because I usually take like 3-year breaks between Splatoon games. There's definitely a lot of meat on the bone for sure. I am excited that Salmon Run is available all the time, because I only got to play that mode like once. They always had it during my IGN
amazing
shift. Yeah. So every time I would go to play it, I'd sign on, and people were either getting off or, I just never had anybody to play with. So that aspect of it is exciting. I'm very excited for the 3-way turf war. I think it's just all of the extra stuff. I'm at a point where, because my time is so limited with games, like there's so much content that it's almost a little intimidating. Like for me personally, but I'll pick it up day one. I'll see how I do with it. If I keep coming back to it, if it's like, oh man, I really need more, I need more turf war, I gotta get my fix. Then sure. But I stick with it? Only time's gonna tell. I don't know.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, if we get a new hardware Switch, I'm not saying Switch Pro, just something that's better, and Nintendo overhauls this netcode at some point, and it's just like as good as what it should be in 2022 going in 2023, this is a game I could see I could be playing well over a year. Because Pokemon Unite, like, I remember I was going to give up on that, but they fixed the netcode. Because, like, you would play, people would, like, drop in and out. You'd be, like, a 2-man team against a 5-man team, but then they fixed it and, people were there, or, like, they fixed, like, people dropping out. And, like, I was able to play it religiously. So, like, I think it comes down to me, like, if the online works how it's supposed to be after the first few months and it's solid, then, like, I think I'll be sold. Yeah, I'll probably be Logan.
If the barrier to entry is low, like in terms of like just getting into a game, then I think it's more likely that I'll stick around. But if it's this thing where it's like, okay, you boot up the game, then you're, the Splatoon 2 experience where you're watching the intros and all that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this personally. I am curious to see the sales numbers on this one, right? 2 past 10 million units. I want to see how this one's going to do. I could see it doing better. I could see it doing worse. The Splatoon hardcore crowd is going to pick it up. I wonder how many people that is. I would guess like 5 to 6 million is the hardcore I will buy every Splatoon game crowd. But beyond that, we'll see. We'll see how it does. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think the only thing that isn't happening in Splatoon 3 that I want to is the map rotation is still 2 maps every 2 hours. I really wanted them to add a third map in.
Yeah, it's not great. Rotation.
Yeah, I really would like that extra variety, especially at the start where there's 12 new stages and you're like, hey, well, got to come back in like 6 different windows to see them all. And that's assuming no repeats. So yeah, that's the only slight disappointment. But otherwise, I thought this was a great presentation, and we're less than a month out from the game. So won't be too long until we're talking about it more here in the boardroom. But let's move on from Splatoon 3 to something that is out now. And that is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2 Impressions. We're all big fans here. 8 tracks, 3 tour tracks, Waluigi Pinball, a couple of older retro courses. I'll start out by saying I think this Wave 2 is much stronger than the first wave overall. I think all the tracks are pretty great. Chris, what do you think?
I totally agree. There really, for me, there really isn't a weak one in the bunch. Even Mario Circuit 3, while it's not that it isn't a course we haven't seen before, it is still fun. I found myself more and more impressed with each level the more I played it.
Yeah. Mario Circuit it's from the SNES. It is super flat. They did like Donut Plains is also from the SNES, but they did some things to give it like at least some bumps in the road. But Mario Circuit 3 is completely flat. But in a game that's going to eventually have 96 courses, I think it's kind of cool to have one that is just super flat, sharp turns like Mario Circuit 3. I think it's fun when it comes up. I think for me, the weaker one of the bunch is Snowland, the GBA one. I think that one's just fine. I don't think it's bad, but it's not one I'd probably ever pick.
I'm not itching to play Snowland, no.
Yeah.
But I'm not upset if it comes up in the rotation either.
It's very much just there. It's unoffensive. There it is.
Yeah, it's unoffensive.
What do you think of the set, Odell?
Oh, man, it's great. Like, if this trend continues that each new track courses is better than the last, oh man, we're in for a treat. The quote unquote new level, like the ice cream mountain, whatever it's called, Dessert Land,
Sunday,
Sky High Sunday.
Sky High Sunday. It's way more impressive than like when you initially see it. It's like, oh, okay, this is cool with the staircases, and there's a lot of boosts and jumps and really cool speed things you can do. And Waluigi Pinball, amazing. I think it's literally just the same thing. It's just an amazing track. They need to do much. But the biggest surprise to me was Calamari Desert. I remember my friend thinking, like, why'd they add that track? That track's so boring. I'm like, this is probably, without hyperbole, the best remixed old track I have seen in the game. I'm including Piranha Plant Slide, one of my favorite tracks of all time. I'm including the Mario Circuit where they raise level. Like, the way they remixed this level was insane. It is super chaotic. It goes in different ways, like the tour course. Like, I love how on the last lap, like, you're on the train track and the train's still coming, and you're dodging items, you're dodging people. Someone could, but it is how you remix a track and make it feel extremely new. That gets my surprise track of the drop award, whatever you want to call it. But you're just up and down the press. And you already talked about the 2 weakest track with Mario Circuit and Snowland. And Snowland's unoffensive. And, and Mario Circuit, it's fine. So, yeah, just like whatever I felt about the first drop, man, triple that for this one.
I also wonder if this drop is benefiting a little. We know what to expect more now. I think with the first drop, it was like, oh, these visually are not even close to how good Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks look. And now with the second drop, we kind of are more used to the tour art style, like the more cartoony, blocky, simple colors, less textured art style for these tracks. So I think the expectations were just set a little bit more, because I still do think there was some really great stuff in the first wave. Like Ninja Hideaway was phenomenal, but I think knowing what to expect just has me really excited that we're only a third of the way done with this thing.
I dare say they just picked better tour tracks. Like New York Mint is just visually more appealing than, like Paris Promenade.
Yeah, I love Sydney Sprint. Man, Sydney Sprint is so good.
Sydney Sprint's good, but I have a big problem with Sydney Sprint where there are parts of that track where they will, like, it is possible for you to drive off the track, like, enough where Lakitu comes and picks you up. And it's like, it's 2 feet. Let me just drive it. Like, it's right there. It's not like you're like falling off of a cliff and he's like, got to go grab you. It's like, dude, I'm right there. Come on. I don't know. I don't know if they found that to be faster in other modes or something, but I thought it was a weird choice.
I guess I'm not driving off the track.
Because it is the one course where you can get stuck in a corner and it takes you literally like 20 seconds to get out. Sydney Sprint. Like, okay. There's certain levels, like the turns, and like it's so blocky that I played this track 3 times and I got stuck each time. I'm like, how am I getting stuck?
Yeah, there's one part in particular on 200 that I haven't been able to like crack. Like I can't get around it without like just. It's not that I'm getting completely stuck where I like have to back up and everything, but it's enough where I like have to almost come to a stop.
Is it like the like back and forth curves with like the angled part of the road, and there's like a big left curve and then a big right curve? Because on 200 I slam into a wall on that every single time. I
think that's it.
Yeah. But the tour tracks are so cool. I'm really happy they're being brought to Mario Kart 8 in this fashion, so I don't have to download Tour. But just like right in 7 and 8, we had the segment races. But to get these races where it changes depending on the lap is super cool. And I don't know if you guys have played Mario Kart Tour.
A little bit.
But in that game,
I played it for like a month when it first came out, and then just, got rid of it.
In that game, that's not even how these courses work, right? They have New York Minute 1, New York Minute 2, 3. And then they combine those 3 laps to make the 8 Deluxe version.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so creative how they did that. And something I did go and test because I was curious is in Calamari Desert, right? The huge ramp appears on lap 2. So I set up split screen, and I took one driver, and I went around on full lap 1, met up back on lap 2, and then I took the other controller and went together at the same time. So one driver on 2, one driver on lap 1. You get to the ramp, it's just there for the screen on the left and not there for the screen on the right.
Really?
And then when player 1 drives up on it, it looks like they're floating in midair. Like they just drive on it and jump off, and they're just floating. Like, and you see them like do the trick off the jump, but it's like what they just jump off of. So that's how they handle it. If you were wondering, is it's just not visible. You can't collide with it. It's like it's not even there for you. I think that was super fascinating when I found that out.
I guess I had to think about it, but like, yeah, if someone gets lapped, like, well, no, the track is, yeah, so I guess that's how tour works. How does tour work then? Because, you know, on some of them, you're like on a completely different, you should do it with tour now. Now I'm curious.
I'm not downloading tour.
Well, I don't think you can in
No,
tour.
no, I mean like on the tour tracks in.
Oh, in 8.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how does it work with the different paths? It's just like, you know how there's like arrow walking a wall sometime?
Yeah.
Like, it's just the arrows disappear when it's time to go down that path. So it's pretty much the same idea. It was just more noticeable when it's this giant metal
Yeah, that's a
ramp
much
rather than
more
just
like
arrows.
grandiose change to a level than just like go this way.
Yeah. So excited for Wave 3. I think Wave 2 is really great. And man, it's just fun to get back into Mario Kart. Like, just been playing with friends and family again the last week. And yeah, I think some people are complaining that this feels a little slow out, but I'm fine with it. I mean, I waited 8 years for new Mario Kart content.
Yeah, I can wait
So just
4 months in between or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, as long as I'm getting it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Like Chris, I am also old, and I'm thinking I enjoy the time because, okay, if they dropped, 30 tracks on day, I'll still be like, oh God, like you said, it would be like too much. I have to play through these. There's so many. I need to get the gold trophies.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, here's 8, bro. Take your time, enjoy. Get bored of them.
I will say, like, when the first wave came out, I did have that 2-day span where, like, that was all I did. I was like, okay, I got gold in all of them, 3 stars, I'm done. And then I never touched it again. I don't plan on doing that with this one. Like, I kind of want to take my time and kind of enjoy them, in the in-between times of track drops.
Yeah. Okay, a week ago, latest financial results for Nintendo came in. Switch now at 111.08 million hardware units sold. Switch software 863.59 million in the last quarter. The last 3 months, overall Switch sales 3.43 million, with about half of that, 1.52 million of that, being the Switch OLED, outselling the standard Switch 1.3 million and the Switch Lite 0.6 million. Year over year, hardware sales were down about 23%. Nintendo says that is due to the ongoing chip shortage, semiconductor shortage, unable to meet demand. So they said that they aren't too worried about that being a problem with the Switch going forward. And then we got some sales numbers for the software released over the last quarter. We got Nintendo Switch Sports sold 4.84 million units. I predicted that would be a 10 million seller, so it's got to do some heavy lifting this holiday to reach that point.
Wow.
Get ready for the Black Friday bundle, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Mario Strikers Battle League sells 1.91 million units. And then Kirby and the Forgotten Land sells 1.88 million units. And Mario Kart 8 sells 1.48 million units during this same window. And man, I know that we are.
Wait, are those Kirby sales since it's launched?
No.
Yep.
Not for Mario. Not Mario Kart.
Not counting its first. The Kirby sales were not counting its first weekend, or is it?
Oh, right.
Kirby overall has sold 4.5 million.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Kirby would have been in
March.
Yeah. End of the first quarter.
Yeah. So 4.5 million for Kirby and the Forgotten Land is outstanding for that franchise. Those are really, really good numbers for a Kirby game.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the Metroid sales numbers look as bad.
No, but you know what? That's what sucks, right? Is that everyone looks at Kirby, wow, Kirby did such a good job. And then Metroid, everyone's like, oh man, franchise is dead. Like,
yeah. I think, honestly, a big part of it is people like 3D games. And Kirby in 3D, I think, was just a big selling point for a lot of people. I think Metroid Prime 4 will sell very well. If that game ever actually does come out.
I don't think that game will ever come out.
Really?
No, I'm
really?
Kidding. I'm kidding. That game will come out. I just don't I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that good.
I think it'll sell
sales wise or game wise?
Game wise. I have very low expectations for that game. It's been through too much.
I don't know.
It's like the Duke Nukem Forever of Nintendo.
It gave me hope. Because I thoroughly enjoyed Dreads. And I'm like, Metroid Prime 4 can't suck. There's no way.
But Retro Studios is so good. They're so good.
They are. That's true. I mean, they did stop development and get them.
Yeah. We have not seen anything. Well, we haven't seen anything at all. But we don't know at all what it looks like. It's way too early to pass judgment on Metroid.
Before we move on, here's the question. What are better odds that Metroid Prime 4 launches on Switch as well as the next Switch, like the next Nintendo console, day and date, or Breath of the Wild 2 does that?
Metroid, hands down Metroid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep, absolutely.
You would put Metroid on the new
Absolutely.
Nintendo console over Breath of the Wild?
They
As
did
like
it last fall.
As the launch
They
game?
literally did it last fall. Switch OLED was the same day as Metroid Dread. So they've literally shown they'll do it before. Yeah,
I'll take it.
I think no chance. I think that the gap between how close we are to Zelda and how close we are to the next Switch is too far that unless I'm being naive and Zelda's going to get pushed another year, which could very well happen, I don't see that happen.
Well, it's
I think
also
Zelda makes it in the spring.
Okay, I was going to say because it's also if they hold Zelda for the next hardware launch.
I think Zelda makes it in the spring, and I think that Switch 2 launches spring 2024 alongside Metroid Prime 4.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, honestly.
Me neither.
Let me put it like this.
Happy.
Ubisoft
Be very happy
said
with that.
that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still happening. And if that could be true, then the same can be true for Metroid Prime 4. I believe one of these statements. I do not believe the other.
I absolutely believe in Metroid Prime 4. I think if in the fall direct so say they had never accidentally announced Metroid Prime 4 in 2017. And then quietly behind the scenes, this game got canceled at its initial developer, handed off to Retro, and then this September, we see a trailer for it, and it's like Retro Studios is making Metroid Prime 4. You, Chris, having no idea of the developmental hell this has gone through, would be excited and think it was going to be good.
You're not wrong, but I do know the developmental hell that it's been through.
But it doesn't matter.
No, I know.
It doesn't matter. If I cook dinner and then it's inedible and I have to throw it in the garbage and then you cook dinner, there's no reason to believe your dinner is going to be bad.
You know what game went through
point.
developmental hell? Twilight Princess. Just saying.
That game's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Switch financial results / a little bit of Metroid Prime 4 spec for you here in the boardroom. Let's move on, though. I mentioned Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak Amiibo appear to be coming to the West after all. So these are coming from reports over at Amiibo News, which is where I got my start in game journalism. P.S. Nintendo.
Thank you.
/Amiibo News.
Thank you, Andrew Wolf. Isn't that him? Isn't that Andrew Wolf who runs that? No? Nope. Oh, no, I'm thinking Amiibo Alerts. Never mind.
Amiibo Alerts, that was our biggest competitor.
Yeah, that's Andrew.
Jason Ganos is who runs Amiibo News. He was my boss at Nintendo Wire. Anyways, this is from some of his sources saying the internal system at GameStop shows dates of September 9th and August 26th for the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. This was before the Sunbreak stream earlier this week. They thought it might show up there. They didn't announce a release date for the Amiibo there, but there was a new Sunbreak trailer that's specifically cut for North America that had the little flash card at the end of the Amiibo. So they're still coming at some point. We don't know exactly when, but yeah, they were still in the official presentation, and reports are saying that they're coming to GameStop sometime within the next month. So good news there. Good news for all like me who were worried about importing. They're very expensive.
Wouldn't they just drop it the same day as Splatoon at this point?
I feel like they would.
Wouldn't that make the most sense?
Yeah, September 9th is turning into a huge day
for Nintendo
hardware.
Yeah.
It is enormous. You've got the Switch OLED for Splatoon 3, the Pro Controller for Splatoon 3, Splatoon 3 itself, Steve and Alex, and potentially this trio of Monster Hunter Rise Amiibo. Not the Splatoon Amiibo, though, but there's a ton coming on September 9th if you are a Nintendo fan who scoops up everything they release.
You know what I'm wondering? Has Nintendo given up on the Switch Lite? Because I feel like they have.
I think we'll see one for Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
I will be pissed. I will be pissed if they make another Pokemon Switch Lite. I need a Pokemon OLED. If it's a Switch Lite, I will be pissed.
You don't have to buy it, Odell.
I'm not going to, but I'm just saying.
I don't believe you.
I promise you. Okay, unless it looks 10 out of 10 gorgeous, I am not going to buy it. I'd rather get a 10 out of 10 amazing looking Pokemon OLED. Okay. I feel like that would make a lot more sense.
Okay. Chris wasn't here for our Pokemon conversation. What did you think of the Pokemon Presents last week?
What did I think of the Pokemon Presents?
Yeah, you weren't here when Odell and I chatted about it on the show.
I mean, they got my $120, right? I pre-ordered both copies so Jess and I can play together. That's the biggest thing. Jess and I can play together. Like, before it was, hey, honey, I'm going to go play Pokemon. Are you going to go play Pokemon? Okay. And then we would go into separate rooms for some reason, and then we would play Pokemon. Now we can actually do it, with each other, which is cool. I am very interested to see how that works, if it works well. I think a lot of the new Pokemon that they've shown are very cute. I like the new animations. I think the having 3 story modes is very refreshing. I hope, because you can start on whatever branching path that you want to do. I don't have to do the 8 gym leaders and Elite Four and all that right out the gate. I think that's really cool. I just hope it doesn't feel like Fire Emblem 3 Houses or whatever, and I think it's going to. Because that's...
Why? Because there's an academy?
Because there's an academy and
3 paths?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious about how this is going to work. I look at the 3 stories and I'm like, is it not just gym leader story, legendary story, evil team story? Because then you could say there's 3 stories in every Pokemon game.
Right? They're just strewn throughout the same thread. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Treasure hunt?
I feel like I have to play it right, be part of the conversation. But, and I say this every iteration. I'm like, if I don't like it, this is the last one. And every year, I've done it like every Switch release. I hated Sword and Shield. I hated the Platinum Diamond remakes. I enjoyed Arceus, but Jess took that over, and I wasn't about to buy a second copy. And then I never went back. I played all of Let's Go, but I was nostalgic for Let's Go. That game taught me how to read. I played a lot of Pokemon Red when I was a kid.
You only learned how to read in 2017? Sorry, 2018?
I don't have a good enough comeback for that.
Okay.
I feel like Sword and Shield got a lot of unwarranted hate. I'm not saying not for me.
I didn't enjoy it. We ask at the Platformers podcast. We asked the question, "Where's the fun?" I couldn't find it in that game. I looked under rocks. I looked at big Pokemon. I looked at small Pokemon. I couldn't find the fun.
I'll give you that. The toxic portion of the Pokemon fan base gave that game way too hard a time. I'll agree with that. But I think from an objective standpoint, those games are 5.5 to 6 out of 10s at best.
See, this is what I always tell people. If you go back and remember a game called Sun and Moon, to me, that was like a 5 to 6.5 out of 10.
Also didn't like that game.
but people, excuse my language, yanked it off a good one. And I'm like, and then came back with Sword and Shield. I'm like, no, Sun and Moon, and to a lesser extent, Ultra Sun and Moon, I had big issues with. So in my mind, I understand how people give that game a pass.
You want to know the last Pokemon game I really enjoyed? And then we don't have to go too far down this rabbit hole.
Black and White 2? I know, great game.
No, X and Y was the last one that I had 175 hours in that game. Absolutely loved it.
That game a hard time.
Yeah. Haven't really fallen in love with one since. Just hasn't happened. And I don't care for it to happen again, really. And yet I'm going to buy this stupid game. I'm going to play it again like I do every year.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have a lot more Pokemon talk in the coming months. We got to rank all the Pokemon games leading up to Scarlet and Violet.
I thought you were going to say rank all the Pokemon.
I'll rank all 800 Pokemon leading up to Scarlet and Violet. But Chris, you want to talk to us about the Analog Pocket?
Oh, we have time? Oh, I'm so excited.
We do have time.
So I'm not going to go too far into this. If you want a really in-depth discussion, I advise that you check out this week's Platformers podcast, because Josh Mobley and I went on about this for an hour and a half, and I thought Brian's eyes were going to roll out of his head. So for those that aren't aware, the Analog Pocket is a FPGA-based handheld developed by this company called Analog. They're basically a group of developers that really, really love retro game consoles. Very high-quality components, very high-quality pieces of hardware that you can use to play older games on. So the Analog Pocket, as it stands today, you can play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, And then they're adding expansions for Neo Geo, the SG-1000, the Sega Master System, and I think Atari Lynx. Those are expansions that you can buy from their store. Now, what is the news, though? Because this has been a thing for a while now. They've released the Open FPGA platform, which is basically an open source, I'll call it OS for, normal-minded folk. That basically what they're doing is taking the hardware emulation software that they use. So, like, I'm going to play a Game Boy game. And they put that out on the internet. You can then install that onto the Analog Pocket. And then you can put ROMs of Game Boy games on the Analog Pocket. And you can play games directly off of it without the need of a cartridge or anything like that. Before, you needed to have the physical cartridge of whatever game it was that you were going to play, or something like an EverDrive. Now you don't need to do that at all. So now I have the entire Game Boy Color, Neo Geo, well, not Neo Geo, SG-1000, all these other libraries just in this thing that I can take with me wherever I go. And it is as close to hardware emulation, or as like playing on original hardware as you can get, but better, because like the display is better. The button inputs are better. You can dock it and play it on a TV with like a wireless controller, all that good stuff. They are slowly but surely, releasing more cores for it. So this week we got some of the Sega consoles. People are clamoring, myself included, for Nintendo. I'm hoping they put Super Nintendo on this thing, because it'll just be like the be-all, end-all, like portable retro emulation box. And it's just this little guy. That's it. Just this little man. One cool little nugget of knowledge: if you have the Nintendo DS Rumble Pack that came with Metroid Prime Pinball back in the day, you can use it for games that are not just Metroid Prime Pinball. So like Pokemon Pinball has force feedback. Star Wars Episode Run Racer on the Game Boy Color. It's another one, ready to rumble, Perfect Dark. They will all still utilize that same Rumble Pack, which is cool.
Very cool. What have you been playing? On it?
I actually started playing The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I've never played it before.
That game is great.
That's what
really?
it like came out at I think I was in high school, maybe middle school when it came out. I thought it was too cool for it. And yeah, it just like skated by. Never got around to it. So I've been doing that, and Mario Kart Super Circuit. I've been getting into some of that.
Really?
Mainly, I wanted to compare it to some of the new courses that we had.
Oh, okay.
I have that was like the first Game Boy Advance game that I had when I got one. So there's like I have a sweet spot for it, even though I know it's a bad game.
It's not a bad game. It's about Mario Kart. It's not a bad.
That's what I mean. It's a bad Mario. Like, yeah, but when you got Mario Kart 8, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Go play Mario Kart 8.
Playing Luigi's Circuit with the lightning bolts.
The
rain.
Yeah. You know the dumbest thing about that game is there's no character unlocks at all. And for years,
it's just the 8 from 64.
Yeah, and everybody thought like, oh man, you can get Waluigi if you do this. And I remember playing the hell out of this game, thinking I could get Waluigi. It never happened.
I got you.
Now I want to ask you guys some final thoughts here. What's the best 2D Zelda game? Chris.
How dare you start with me?
Oh no, what's the best 2D Zelda game?
I mean, we mean true 2D. We're not talking about like the 2.5D 3DS games or nothing like that, right?
Those count. Those totally
I would count those.
So like Link Between Worlds, you'll count.
Yes.
Okay. If I'm being honest,
is the answer, by the way.
If I'm being honest, it probably is a Link Between Worlds. But I say that to say that almost every 2D Zelda is realistically just a retread of A Link to the Past.
Come on.
People said about not every Zelda, but every 2D Zelda game, more or less, is basically just a better version of that game. But if we're just speaking honestly, I mean, it is the last, and I mean, it's a Link Between Worlds. If I want to be like that guy, it probably is A Link to the Past.
I will hardcore push back that every game is just Link to the Past. You got 2 stylus games in there. You got 3 multiplayer games in there. You have the original 2 games.
Okay, wait, no.
You have Link's Awakening.
Any of the 4 Link's
bizarre.
games, no. 4 Link's Adventures, no. I actually played through those games.
So any 2D Zelda, every 2D, except the ones that aren't like A Link to the Past, are like A Link to the Past. That is a true statement. Chris, what's the best 2D Zelda?
3D
I think those games were bad.
3D Dot Game Heroes.
No, I'm kidding.
Not a Zelda game.
Not a Zelda game. Now I would say I really like A Link Between Worlds. That was one that like I started playing it and it was all I did for like the span of 2 days. Did not die the entire playthrough. I was very impressed with myself.
Really?
But in that same breath, that game is too easy. Like I think that's my biggest problem with it. I like Link to the Past. I've played it so many times. It's exhausting. Yeah, I would probably say Link Between Worlds.
I will say my favorite 2D Zelda is Oracle of Seasons still. Like, it's not the best, but it's still my favorite.
I've still not played those because I'm holding out for a remake at this point. They're my only Zelda hole that I've not played. Is those 2 games.
If you get one of these, it's great on this. Both of those games are.
I'll consider it.
Yeah.
My two
on 3DS. So
when I get the Analog Pocket for my birthday, which is August 23rd, looking at you 2 guys. That's this month.
I'm buying you Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
My top 2 games I want to play is Oracle of Seasons and Pokemon Crystal.
Okay, nice. Crystal's a good one. All right. We've ran a little long, so we're going to wrap up here. That's it for the Toadstool Boardroom Weekly Nintendo podcast, releasing noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays, each and every Thursday. This is our 10th episode. You can go and check out our back catalog on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you like to get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Email us. I'd love to answer listener questions, but I can only do that if you send them to us. ToadstoolBoardroom@gmail.com. You can find Chris on Twitter at
Shrives93.
You can find Odell at
Odo Herman Jr.
And you can find me at Logan J. Plant. Thank you so much for listening to This Week in the Toadstool Boardroom. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.